Welcome to Joyous Singing, and thank you for attending this session from a distance, online learning technology and copyright. This session is going to talk all about making the transition to online learning, talk about the legalities of using music online for lessons, give ideas for structuring lessons and assessing lessons around creative learning, and give an overview of some very helpful products that will help you along the way. Lots of information, so let's dive right in. First of all, let's think about what is music technology. When we think about music technology, we tend to think about software that lets us learn music theory or compose with a notation or create and produce music in a digital audio workstation, or maybe a recording studio or piano skills, or of course, the virtual choir, right? But one thing I've learned about music technology over the years is music technology allows us to create music. I think of music technology as music creation, and that's really key. Music creation allows us to have a comprehensive program, right? It empowers students through student-led instruction, where students can actually have a say in what music they're performing, what music they're choosing, what music they're creating, right? And that's the really big, exciting transition we have now. When it comes to music creation, especially with online learning, a lot of what we do is project-based, and I get that. Students have an assignment, it's a project, there's multiple criteria, but it's really about process-focused instruction. Learning is a process. Learning happens through a process. So it's not just that students created a project and turned it in with the Google Classroom, but it's what did they learn throughout the whole process? And that's what we'll talk about throughout this session. The process that I've found very successful is collaboration, feedback, and growth. How do we get students collaborating right away on music making by peer review and giving feedback to each other, not just when the final product is complete, but throughout the process of the project? And then, of course, growth. Emotional growth, musical growth, personal growth. How do we grow as individuals and better music makers through the process of collaborative learning online? I cannot stress enough that online learning is not open an assignment, do it, and turn it into your teacher. It's really about engaging this collaborative process. In a lot of ways, online technology allows us to collaborate in ways that's not necessarily possible in class. The other value is incorporating popular music and culturally diverse music, right? When we create music, students can find repertoire and create repertoire of music that is relevant to them, that excites them. And also, we can take this opportunity to make sure our programs are extremely diverse, both in the cultures of the music we study, but in the gender and race of the composers and arrangers of the music we're performing. So we now have the opportunity to introduce and have students dive into diverse music in ways never before possible, because they have an active engagement in creating and performing the music they want through individualized personal learning at home. Now, let's take a trip real quick through some different hardware and software products that are helpful to get your online learning station set up. The first thing, I know it seems obvious, but some good headphones. These earbuds are not that comfortable after hours and hours and hours. And to be honest, the audio quality is not that great. So a good pair of headphones. These Samsons are really, really nice. I like them because they're small enough and they're cushioned over your ears. They're a good size for students, even younger students, but they fit well on adults. They're padded at the top. Comfort's very important. They sound great, very affordable. And then obviously I like the fact that it has an adapter with the 1/8 inch plug and the 1/4 inch plug. So no matter what interface or what you're plugging into, you're covered. The other thing I would talk about is a Midi controller. If you're entering music notation, if you're entering music in a digital audio workstation, if you're trying to play reference pitches through software with students, a Midi controller is really, really valuable. The IK iRig series is fantastic. There's at least 3 models I know that are out there of different sizes. They're portable for a desk. There's a full key option and a mini key option depending on size. And they also work with iOS devices directly. So they'll cover you mobile and in desktop. Now, what is MIDI? Here's a quick crash course on MIDI, and here's a picture from Studio One. As you'll see, that MIDI is essentially, when it comes to musical data, I'm simplifying a little bit, but MIDI data covers pitch, duration, and velocity, right? So MIDI will say that you press this note on your iRig for this long according to the metronome, and you press the key this hard. Now that data is translated to software. So a MIDI controller controls software, and the software knows that you have a note to hold for for so long, it's so much volume, and then the software can apply sounds, and you can change out those sound sets anytime, because MIDI is just a control of note on, note off for how long at what velocity, and you can switch the sounds and make it relevant. MIDI also will translate directly into music notation because it carries the pitch and the length, so you can import MIDI into your digital audio workstation or your music notation, and it works both ways. It's very flexible, and all of those programs will export MIDI. So if you want to transfer notes from one program to another, MIDI is a great way to do that. Now, recording. We will be doing a lot of recording at home in class for lessons. USB and mobile microphones, lots of great options out there. The first one I recommend is the Samson Go mic. I think it's an incredible value for the price. It clips right on top of your computer or Chromebook. It's got a weighted base, will sit up on your desk. It's a condenser mic. It is extremely portable and affordable. I can't stress that enough. Another option, sort of at the mid to upper range, is the Yeti Blackout Studio. This is a larger condenser microphone, USB still, that sits up on your desk, and this is great for doing your video lectures, talking to your students. It's really ideal. So two different options at different price points. And then the iRig MicCast 2, this is a great mobile solution. It's flexible. So it plugs into the headphone jack of your device. So whether it's Android or iPhone, you might need the iPhone adapter if you have the Lightning connection. But this allows you to take the audio of your mobile device to the next level. These mobile devices are great for video, but they're not great for audio, right? So if we add in a simple thing like the iRig MicCast 2 allows you to take great video, even of yourself, right? Talking to students with audio quality that sounds as good as the video looks. Now, how can we integrate recording? Lots of ideas. I wanted to share a few ideas I had for integrating recording, right? First of it is the opportunity to let students learn to be your own teacher, right? That's a great lesson. So teaching students to be able to do simple recording and how to use that to, when they're at home, how can they learn themselves, right? Record something, reflect on your performance, listen to the recording, then listen back to what the recording says versus what you thought you did, and then figure out how you can get better. Make another recording, maybe archive them, and then go back to the first recording and talk about how much you've improved through the process. So being a recording, they can put their teacher hat on, and then their performer hat on, then their teacher hat on, and learn to be their own teacher. And obviously, section leaders can also share models, right? So we want to keep these ensemble skills up. How can we keep kids singing and understanding how to match pitch and phrasing, but have your section leaders share recordings for models for the other students. Have students practice recording with each other just to be able to match phrasing, right? Make it gamify it, right? So it's a great opportunity to get students involved in that way. Peer review and feedback is so important. Again, it's about collaborating and getting students connected online, and that's what's really, really valuable. So having students the ability to record, share with some friends, give that feedback is really powerful. And I'm going to share a few assessment ideas here in a second about how that can work really effectively. Multi-track recording, right? Being able to record yourself and then record yourself again and record yourself again. Multi-track recording is really, really key. And there's a couple of ways this can be used. First of all, students can, obviously sing duets with themselves or trios, try to cover more than one part, right? Maybe they can harmonize on a vowel and then practice singing a solo on top, right? They can multi-track themselves. But also, what about unison? Have them sing something, and then can you sing it exactly the same way and compare those unisons, right? That's really valuable. A lot of recording artists did that. I know I'm a huge Queen Freddie Mercury fan, and Freddie Mercury would very often, as many recording artists do, re-record their vocals over and over and over again to get this sense of depth and effect. A lot of guitar players will record solos. Brian May would record solos identical and pan one left and one right. And if you really pay attention, you can hear the little details, but most of all, it's amazing how identical these musicians can play. So you can even engage students in that type of gamification. It can also be a learning tool. Students can sing a drone and then practice singing a scale along with that drone to figure out how to temper the intonation on various intervals. So that idea of multi-track, getting students an online app and a good USB microphone and empower them to do this type of lessons, very valuable. And then, of course, share with families. I do not know a single family right now that would love nothing more than to hear their kids sing. So any opportunity you can to have students capture and record what they're doing, and not only share it with you, but share with the community, share with their families, because music is not made for a teacher to grade. It's made to make the world a better place. So the opportunity to share that with families is really, really, really valuable. Now, how can we talk about assessment and playing test, recorded playing test? Here's a few ideas that might be different than a typical recording playing test, but I think are very valuable. The first is the idea of 3 before me. These all include ways for students to engage other people, not just turn in a playing test for a grade or recorded test for a grade. But one of it is have students sing their test, complete a self-evaluation using a rubric. Then they can have 3 other students complete the rubric. And the student's going to reflect on what they completed on their self-evaluation and what the other 3 students said that they did. You're going to think about what's the difference, because every time others will hear things that you didn't hear yourself. So then the student re-records the playing test, and what they turn in is they might not turn in any of the recordings. They might just turn in a reflection of how they improve based on that feedback, right? So the idea that what we're focusing on is how to be your own teacher. And we're doing that through engaging other peers and really focusing the lesson on how do I get better from what I think I did to what my feedback says I did, and how did I improve? That's a great one. So another one is this idea of positive deduction. This is a way to get started right away with using online feedback and peer review in a very positive way that's not as daunting as my friends are going to make fun of me or give me critique or negative feedback. This keeps it very positive. So make a checklist of all the musical elements you want to hear: tone, pitch, tempo, phrasing, breathing, diction, whatever it may be. Make those list of 6, and then students record a playing example, record a test, sing something, get it out there, and then send it to other students. The other students, all they get to do is pick the 2 best characteristics they heard. And maybe you can aggregate those somehow in a Google form, or they can look at it and what they get. Sorry about the yawning. I haven't really talked in a long time, so I start talking a lot in this webinar. I'm not yawning because I'm bored. I'm yawning because I'm talking a lot. But students can look and get that feedback and look at it and realize that, wow, they're getting positive. Their friends are telling them what they did great. But then ask the question, how come phrasing's not on there? How come rhythm's not on there, right? How come pitch isn't one of the best things? And so then you gamify it. Next time, the student wants pitch to be something that everyone says. So it's a really, really great way to encourage positive feedback, but also get growth. This is the collaborate, feedback, grow model, obviously. And then the third idea I want to share with you is just performance confidence practice. As we don't have our ensembles and we still want to build students up to be like confident performers, one thing that's really valuable is get them to sing for their family. Again, I do not know a mama that doesn't want to hear their child sing for them right now. So the lesson is go take this song, find something, go get your family together, whatever it is, and sing for them. And maybe take a video, or if a video is not allowed at your school, maybe audio. But just record the performance and have the parents submit a little checkbox. What did you love about it? How great that they did? And have students collect that. Again, we're trying to give them a positive performance experience, and they're going to be nervous. So we're trying to build up their performance confidence. So when they come back to school and we can actually make music closer than 6 feet apart without masks on, at some point, we'll be able to have more confident performers. So there's lots of different ideas, but I wanted to share those 3 in a way you can use recordings to really rethink and engage students online. Now, another product I want to talk about, sort of its own category, is this iZotope Spire Studio. I think this is a really revolutionary and an intuitive and inventive new product, and it's been on the market for about a year now. But this piece of hardware allows students to record, whether it's voice, piano, guitar. It simplifies the recording process incredibly well. And so students can just set it up, it listens, it learns, it automatically processes the music and makes it sound as good as possible. And honestly, the best description is from the product manager. So I'm actually going to show you a video inside of a video. So bear with me, but I think it's worth taking a look at what this does and thinking of how it can really provide something great for students at home.
So what makes Spire Studio different? Spire Studio isn't just designed to capture sound, it's also designed to help you take those ideas that you record and expand them out into full songs. Now, if you've ever had the experience of plugging a microphone into a recording console, a mixing board, or any other sort of device, you'll know that it's really hard to get the level just right. Too loud and it clips or there's feedback. Too quiet and there's lots of noise and you can't hear it as well. Soundcheck makes it easy. As you can see right now, Spire Studio's omnidirectional microphone is listening to the sound of my voice. You can plug microphones into the back as well, or keyboards, drum machines, guitars, basses. But if I press Soundcheck, it's now listening intelligently to the level of my voice. And as soon as it's done, it's set the level, and I'm ready to record. You can see track 1 is ready, as is track 2. Let's say I had those 2 tracks and I wanted to mix it. If I hop over to the Mix tab within the app, you'll see these different icons. Each icon represents a track. Now think about a band you'd see on stage. Maybe the drums are more in that direction and the singer is more sort of in this direction. You can start to create these really cool soundscapes very, very easily. Let's say I wanted to share an idea with a bandmate, a collaborator, or even my audience. I press on the share icon right here, and you'll see it loads this view that says Enhance. As soon as I turn it on, it's now listening to the audio. It's improved the clarity, it's boosted the loudness, and then it gives me an end result. It says Enhance is on, and I can now audition that on or off and adjust the amount of the processing. Then I'm ready to share the idea. I could upload it directly to social media. I could send a finished mix via text, or I could share the individual tracks with a friend who's maybe working in Pro Tools or Logic. So that's Spire Studio. It's really quick, it's really easy, and there's intelligence to help you get those ideas down at every step of the way.
So I wanted to share that as a great option because I thought it was a really, really cool interface that you can use in lots of different ways with your students at home and let them connect through the app. Now, if you want to really get a full home production studio for yourself or students that are really engaged in this type of music making, this PreSonus Atom Producer bundle is really, really great. You have a full Atom pad to sequence and to make beats and be able to control the software. You have Studio One production software, an audio interface, condenser mic, everything you need to get started. I think this is the single best getting started bundle, and there's lots of resources online on how to use these types of products. Now, of course, lots of different digital audio workstations. We've talked about Studio One a few times. I think that's great for a downloaded option. And don't forget your music notation needs. Check with your retailer what music notation and what digital audio workstation is available, including Noteflight, which is available through your retailer. Now, let's talk a little about creating music online. When we transition to using these products to get students to create music online, how do we start doing creative activities and move from something like this on paper to an online world? Well, a couple tips I'll share with you. First is start with short lessons. Nobody says a composition or a creative assignment or even a recording has to be a long thing. Online learning is very new. So just like getting through the first day of school, where what we really want to do is establish norms, this is like this. So if you could just do a short lesson that engages students just to get them through, to give them immediate success and to be able to get feedback on small little pieces that can scaffold, that's really, really valuable. The other is build off what you have. You don't have to create music that's original. Originality and creativity are not the same thing. They don't always have to be all together. So use existing melodies, existing repertoire, existing folk songs, the hook from your favorite song, whatever it can be, and let students manipulate, change, and play with existing music. That is very much a creative process. Focus on a skill. Right? We're still teaching music. And as we structure our lessons into units, maybe we want to take the opportunity to really dig into harmony or voice leading or melodic shape or breathing or whatever it may be. So if we want to take that lesson, we could take something on phrasing and melodic shape and do that as an 8-measure example where students could create or manipulate existing material, right? Then focus on melodic shape in that way. So use something you have, think small, but you're ultimately teaching a musical skill. Create, perform, respond, connect in every lesson. It's really important in these instances that we're not just thinking about, oh, we're creating, but the act of a student sharing or presenting their material to another student is called performing. In visual arts, it's called presenting. So think about the opportunity to create something, but that collaboration and feedback piece immediately gives you the present, perform, and the respond element, because students are responding to others' work, giving feedback, and that's where that respond comes in. And of course, connect is not just about connecting with other students, but connecting with larger ideas. How does this music make you feel? Why did you choose this song? How is this music used in other real circumstances? What careers might exist from making music like this? Just connect to the outside world as much as possible. How can this music lead cultural change? Think bigger. This is a perfect opportunity to focus on that perform, respond, connect element, or create, respond, connect elements as well. And then, of course, last but not least is build confidence. It is extremely important that students are engaged at home and they're confident music makers. As we start to structure online lessons and add technology and add students' ability to create and compose and have their own say in music and personalized learning, remember that the way we give assessments and the way we engage students should really lead to them wanting to do more next time, right? Assessment should be about how to be better next time, not why you got a grade this time. So in everything we do, especially online, the ultimate goal is the student gets our feedback, whether written or in the form of a number, like a grade, and they look at that and they say, I can't wait to go on and do the next thing better. That's what we need. That's the ultimate goal. So it's not just you missed this, but how do we build confidence? Because we want students to engage, and they're not in our class for you to do the snap. Hey, pay attention to me. We don't have them to do that. So we have to engage them, and our feedback and how we encourage them is really where that engagement comes from, and how we encourage them to encourage each other. Couple other options that are great that your retailer can give you more information about. Noteflight Learn, create and record and assess music using soundcheck performance assessment built directly in Noteflight. It works great with voices and choral, as well as polyphonic music. You have piano or guitar. And then of course for general music, make sure you check out Essential Elements Music Class. K5, great collection of songs, interactive resources that works perfectly online and doesn't even need student logins, because a kindergartner trying to enter a password is not a fun thing ever. You can immediately share a link they can click on and it opens up and you can create that experience. So check out those, ask your retailer for more information. All right, now to the fun part, copyright. How do we share music online with distance learning for copyright? Well, just because it's a new way of teaching, the same rules still apply. At the end of the day, if you did not buy it, you shouldn't use it. If you know it's someone else's material, if it's a copyrighted work, and you're distributing it or sharing it or using it in a teaching context, a video, and you didn't purchase it for all the students, it's just like photocopying that paper. So only distribute materials to students for whom you've paid for the materials, right? So just think of what you would do in the physical environment. Let's say 30 octavos. You have 30 octavos and you want to do a lesson with 30 students. You have the rep, you've purchased it for the students. So yes, you can scan that octavo or take pictures of it and put it in the Dropbox and share with those 30 students for the purpose of online learning, provided you've purchased that for all the students and provided that you've actually controlled the distribution so students know they're not supposed to share that out and they can only access it within that class, right? So, and we'll talk about publisher guidance next. But also remember, just because it's online and free does not mean it's legal. So there are a lot of illegal songs online. You can download all kinds of things, right? So just because someone puts it on a website doesn't mean you're allowed to use it. If it's a copyrighted song and you're using it without paying for it, I don't think there's a single a use case available that actually permits that, right? So use music you've purchased, but you can use it digitally. And we want to always take the opportunity to educate and demonstrate to students what is right. Tell them, I have put this in the Google Drive and you're only allowed to access with your login, and it's only accessible to this class because we've only purchased enough music for the people in this class, and that's how we're legally using this. Make it a teachable moment. Now, publishers have given guidance on this, and I'll share in a second what Hal Leonard's guidance is, but the high level is, again, replicating purchased physical or digital products is okay for classroom use. Replicating whole class instruction with videos or online learning is okay, as long as you're using products you've purchased and you're making your best effort to contain the use of the materials only to that class. I know as soon as that PDF gets out there, as soon as that link gets out there, yes, it can be downloaded and shared. I get that. but that paper can always be photocopied. It's always been about us doing the right thing and educating our students what the right thing is. So we have to be extra vigilant to make sure students know this isn't a copy protected. Share those PDFs as view only. Don't allow printing. Everything, take every precaution you can to prevent that material from being used outside of how it's supposed to be used, but also educate. Tell your students what they're not supposed to do. Now, Hal Leonard has issued guidelines. You can go to halleonard.com/distance learning. You can see different product opportunities. You can link to this guidance, but digital usage of purchased physical products is allowed. Again, control the distribution only to the same students for whom you've purchased. You can purchase repertoire right now. Buy music, buy lots of copies, buy from your retailer. You can even buy physical repertoire, but if you have 42 students, buy those 42 octavos, save them for your library. You can go ahead and scan one and put it out there for digital use, provided you contain it, right? But we want you to keep using product as you can. So we're loosening the do not scan or photocopy rules because we know that we want to provide the opportunity for you to do that as long as you buy the physical or digital product. Again, if you need to use demonstration recordings, make rehearsal tracks, or student needs to be recording, you can use those. Again, control the distribution to the class, replicate that physical in-class instruction, and only with product that you've purchased for the number of students you want to use. Purchasing sheet music examples, online learning videos, again, permitted, control it to the use of the class, and make every effort you can to do that. Now that we got the copyright and all the tech pieces out, let's look a little bit about what online learning is. I'm going to show you another clip of a video because I think this is a great analogy in a few ways.
Gene, we have a situation brewing with the carbon dioxide.
We got a CO2 filter problem on the lunar module.
5 filters on the limb.
Which are meant for 2 guys for a day and a half. So I told the doc.
You're already up to 8 on the gauges. Anything over 15 and you get impaired judgment, blackouts, the beginnings of brain asphyxia.
What about the scrubbers on the command module?
They take square cartridges.
The ones on the limb are round.
Tell me this isn't a government operation.
This just isn't a contingency we've remotely looked at.
Those CO2 levels are going to be getting toxic.
Well, I suggest you gentlemen invent a way to put a square peg in a round hole. Rapidly.
Okay, people, listen up. People upstairs handed us this one, and we gotta come through. We gotta find a way to make this fit into the hole for this, using nothing but that. Let's get it organized.
Okay, let's build a filter.
Better get some coffee going, too, someone.
How many people feel like that's what happened back in March, right? We were going along and all of a sudden we have an emergency. We need you to fit a square peg in a round hole, right? It's such a great analogy, and I think that's a lot of what we feel, right? And then that line of this is a contingency we've never before prepared for, right? I mean, it perfectly sums it up. But let's take a few ideas from that and really think about what we can do going into the fall, right? First of all, what's the first thing you do to solve a problem? You take an inventory, you pour everything on the table, and then they say get some coffee going. Obviously, that's important. But take an inventory, lay out what you have on your table. What technology, hardware, and software do you have available that your students have access to, you know how to use? What lessons and resources do you have that are available that need to be modified? Just put those down there. Look at your repertoire. Pull the repertoire, just what's available, what may need to be changed, but look at that. Then put your own skill set on that table. What are you comfortable with? Are you not comfortable making videos? Are you not comfortable online teaching? Have you never created a Google class? What's your skill set? And then look at pedagogy, past, present, and future. Look at new ideas for pedagogy, but also current pedagogy and maybe even some ideas from the past. But take that inventory, and now that separated in those categories really helps you understand what you have. And you may have more on that table than you expected. I think a lot of us rush to I got to change everything and something's got to go new. Not necessarily. Inventory what you have, because you don't know what you need until you know what you have. But here's the beautiful thing. Unlike that lunar module, you are not just confined to what's in those boxes. You can learn new skills. You can acquire new products. You can get new rep. You can rethink the way you approach lessons. So now you have the opportunity to pull in new resources that's available, but start with that inventory. Now also think about who's in that module, because not only did they have to create a way to fit that round peg in a square hole, they have to communicate that through the radio to people that are thousands or hundreds of thousands miles away from Earth. And that's not easy. That's a lot about online learning. It's not just about your skills and what you figure out. How you communicate that through kids through a device, through a digital way is so key. So think about not only what you have, but who is in that module. What are your student needs? What do they have at home? What technology do they have? Do they not have? What do they need to hear from you right now? What do they need to be doing? What's going to enrich their lives? And then always think about those home family situations. Remember that we just don't know what those home family situations are like. Even the students that we used to know that didn't have home issues, their families could be out of work because of closures, the economy's down. There's all sorts of additional stresses going on. So we need to be super sensitive and aware of what students may have at home and what they're capable of. The process of online learning is new to a lot of folks, maybe not everyone, but we need to set expectations like it's the first day of school. So when you go back in August and you're thinking about that first day of school, remember when I used to teach elementary school, that one of the first things we do the first day of school of every class, if I could just get them in the door, know where to sit, establish the norms, and we'd sing a quick 5-minute easy win activity that everyone could be successful at, and then we practice how we end class and how we stand up, how we line up, and we do that a few times. We establish those norms, right? Sort of the same thing here, right? We want to find a fun, engaging online lesson, but it's an easy assignment, but we want to figure out the process. If they could just know where to look for the assignment, figure out how to do it, how to turn it in, how to give feedback, that's a huge win. So let's start with an easy, engaging, fun assignment and just establish the norms around that, especially the norms of collaborating with each other. Where do they go for help? How do they find other students? What are the appropriate ways of communicating? Slow down, do less, and expect it will take longer at first. Now, I'm not saying lower expectations. I'm just saying know it's going to take longer, and that's okay, right? But we need to give students that easy win, and that's important because at the end of the day, we have these peak experiences. We perform in class and students feel so valued. We need to give them that feeling through these first introductory lessons and ride through that. The word technology sometimes feels like the same as frustration, but it does not have to be that way. Frustration is, in fact, really directly connected to our expectations. If we're expecting a certain result and we don't get it, we become frustrated. But we can avoid frustration by managing expectations. The number one thing I see that we make mistakes at is we try to use technology in ways that it was not invented to use. Technology has a purpose. So sometimes we want to teach this lesson and we're going to say, okay, I'm going to grab this technology, we're going to make it do this, I'm going to download it here and upload this and add this. But is that the intended purpose of the technology? We need to use tech for its intended purpose. And understand there's a lot of great resources that have been out there for a while that we can encourage. So do not tell tech what to do. If you're fighting with tech, I almost guarantee that you're trying to get it to do something that you want it to do that's a workaround or not its intended purpose. It's okay to be only one step ahead. That's fine. Survival. But tell the students that. Let them lead. Tell them that we're going to try this new technology. Here's the learning goal. I want you to experience this, and we're going to work together to figure out how to make that happen. And let students help each other. The more we can engage them, the better. And avoid tech tunnel vision. Sometimes we get tunnel vision on the software we're comfortable with or the app we use, and we have a thing at school and we feel like we have to use it. The ultimate goal is to engage students and make fun, enriching activities and get them all involved as best we can. So do not get tech tunnel vision. Do not get focused on the tech. Focused on the engagement and find the right tech that supports that. Now, you really cannot replicate a synchronous physical environment online, right? The things we did in class and then the norms we have and the procedures we're comfortable with are based on that physical environment. So it's not about replicating, it's about rethinking, right? But also there are plenty of models of online learning that actually already work, right? Online learning tends to be best blended or asynchronous, right? One of the most precious commodities we have right now is time with our students. Class time, whether it's in person, which is extremely precious, or just getting them all together on the Google Hangout or the Zoom meeting, right? And seeing their faces and getting together at the same time. That time should be celebrated with students sharing activities they've done, performing, sharing their work, giving each other feedback. Lectures can be pre-recorded and uploaded, and students can work on assignments on their own. Time together needs to be about engaging together. So do not lose the opportunity by taking class time to lecture to students for 40 minutes. If they log on and you have them all together and all they do is stare at a screen and listen to you, that can be a pre-recorded video that they've already done. They could come into that class time with an assignment and you could share and engage them. So also focus on what gets students engaged in some form of music making, whether creating, singing. And then we've talked about create, respond, connect. It's very important that students are creating, but also responding and connecting to the larger needs, including social emotional learning, and think about students with special needs. Always have a contingency plan, right? Not just for students with special needs and social learning, but also students have different home environments or technology doesn't work. How can students complete assignments regardless of their technology? What can they do and make sure you can reach all students? And then I've probably said engagement 1,000 times, but engagement over assessment, right? So this idea of, assessment tends to be a grade, but assessment's about feedback and growth, right? So the types of assessments that promote engagement could be checklists. If your assignment, again, back to that process of learning, if your assignment includes peer review and a self-reflection, have a checklist on your assessment that makes sure that you encourage that. Because remember, what you assess directly affects what's learned. How many times do kids in any class, is this gonna be on the test? Is this gonna be on the test? Why do we ask that? Do I have to learn this? When you do an online lesson, the assignment's there, the instructions are there, the rubric's there, they know what's on the test. They know what's on the test. And if your assessment doesn't include checklists and reflections and peer evaluations and all these things that connect kids, they're not going to do it. So include that. That's the process of learning. Assessment can be multiple little small steps that they can check off. And in fact, a student can get a great grade through the process of learning without maybe ever turning in a product. And that's okay, right? So let's think about some general ideas right now. Remember that each family and home could have different levels of struggle. Music brings joy, not stress. This is called the joy of singing, right? So have students sing for their parents. What parent would not want to hear their student sing right now? Include that as your lesson. And that's something any kid can do, regardless of technology. You could text that lesson. You could mail a letter that says sing for your parents, Have students free play with fun music apps. Again, free play, meaning the assignment is to bring joy in creating music. You don't have to turn in a product. You don't have to do something new, but play with something for 5 minutes and write a sentence about what you discovered. Sing for joy between coursework. You know how stressful it is to go from subject to subject to subject online learning? Why not make a lesson that lets students sing and express themselves and help relieve stress by using that as a breakup and a barrier between all the other subjects, right? Compose and create music for fun. Give them great activities to go in and just compose music and say, make something fun, but take the stress of turning in a product away. Have them listen to music, right? You could text students or you could send a note home or paper packet. It's like make playlists, write a playlist for others, screenshot your iPhone playlist, whatever kids have, the ability to just make a playlist. And then that way you can encourage students with whatever they have for home. But think about bigger. Now, how can we take this as an opportunity to grow even larger than what we had before? So what new opportunities exist, right? We're so focused sometimes on recreating our classroom or salvaging our programs, but they're missing some huge opportunities here, right? What amazing performances online. How many great performances of singing can you see on YouTube? Having students take the time to invest in those performances, to really study what proper breathing and posture and phrasing and what all this looks like, what an amazing choir sounds like. We all would admit, and I would admit in my classes, we never have enough time for students to listen, right? Because you're only as good as your ear is. And I had teaching private lessons for years. I used to tell students, if you knew how bad that sound, if you could hear how out of tune that was, you would not sing it that out of tune, right? So let's take this opportunity to build up their ears and build up their awareness of what quality is. So when we get them back in that class, they understand quality. Create and compose music to tell the story of history and diversity in other areas. Use music creation and composition not to study where the passing tone is, but to students to actively engage in creating music of different time periods and understand those time periods, right? And understand, because that will lead to better performance in the future. Allow students to be the teachers. The assignment should be for the students to create lessons for each other. And then think about the power of music to heal. Again, I talked about the last slide about students can create lessons where they just need to sing a song or make a playlist to calm them between other assignments. That's something the entire school can do, not just the students that are signed up for choir, right? And so we have an opportunity to expand music making to the entire school and share that lesson and get more students involved in music. So take a step back and say, how can I use this as an opportunity to engage every student in music making? I hope this was a helpful presentation. I hope you got lots of ideas of cool products you can use. I hope it cleared up some copyright confusion and helped you establish what you can do with music and what you can purchase through the great retailers involved here. And I hope those lesson ideas on lessons and assessments and integrating music creation were helpful to you. My info is right here. Thank you for taking the time to watch this session. Thank you for participating in Joyous Singing over the summer. I want to truly thank you, because at a time when, yes, it's stressful and there's lots of new and there's lots of unknown, you are the teachers who are finishing this entire session and many others because you want to learn something new. You want to empower yourself and better yourself because you want to do that so you can be better for your students in the fall. And everyone that's watched all the way to the end and is truly trying to absorb new information, I applaud you and I thank you, because if you are doing all of this during your summer to better yourself for your students, then your students are so lucky to have you. Thank you.